The kids who come out of college with an insurance degree, I'm like, what happened to you? How did you discover this? Because most people are like, no. And I think every year I've sat down and been like, is this the best use of my time? I read some quote recently, like entrepreneurship really isn't for.
It is all up here, and like the pressure you put on yourself or the lack of belief that you have in yourself at that moment.
My commercial was airing at the same time that Shaquille O'Neal's version of Gold Bond was running. I didn't get paid like Shaquille O'Neal did, though. They're kind of hard to find, and the big guys swoop them up before the little guys can get there. So I've been in insurance a long time. I started in. I'm somewhat concerned, like I've seen in an Instagram reel, it was like how to make sure that your AI prompts aren't. I think one of my biggest challenges was. Hi, my name is Susana Gibb, and I am the owner of Gibb Insurance Services. And I guess my funny story is when I first started out, I worked for my dad in Tyler, Texas, which is, you know, this cool little town, about 100,000 people. It's very, you know, conservative Texas. And people would ask, oh, you know, where is your agency? And I would say, oh, you know, it's on 155. And they would kind of do this like, you know, little look like, what? And I would say, you know, it's across from Time Out, the strip club. And everybody would go, oh, yeah, we know where that is. But nobody ever goes there, right?
Of course not.
Nobody ever goes there. And I'm an insurance dudette. So, yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Boom! All right.
Well, welcome, Susana, to the Insurance Dudes. It's awesome to have you on.
Yes, thank you.
And when we're looking over your, I mean, you have an amazing resume here.
Oh, why, thanks, guys.
I like how I pronounce that.
Super nice.
Yeah.
I definitely want to hear about the acting career. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's not something you hear every day.
Because you've been in 250 more films and television productions than I have been in.
Well, you know.
I'm at zero.
Yeah, no, I got it.
You got the math?
Yeah, I did the math.
Good. All right. Well, tell us how you got so you worked at your dad's agency? Is this your entry?
So when I graduated college with a really lucrative theater degree, as you can imagine. And so I was doing auditions and stuff like that, but I was missing some because I was working at a restaurant. And my dad said, you know, there's always a desk for you here. And I didn't want to do insurance. Nobody wants to do insurance, right?
Of course.
The kids who come out of college with an insurance degree, I'm like, what happened to you? How did you discover this? Because most people are like, no.
100%.
Yeah, no.
No, insurance. It's not sexy. So, but I was like, okay, great. What if I do it remote? Because I didn't want to move back to Tyler, right? I'm in the big city. I'm in Dallas. And so... Yeah, we did that. And for a long time, I didn't tell my clients at all because I told a couple and they were like, oh, I'm not going to go with you because you're going to get famous and move to LA and I'm not going to have an insurance agent. And so I quickly was like, oh, we don't tell clients that we are an actor, right? And I would just hide it. I did lots of like insurance conferences and quotes if I was on a shoot for the day. And they were never the wiser for a long time until... the Final Four was here in Dallas, and I was on a TXU commercial, which is a really big energy electricity company here. And then the gig was up. But at that point, I was about 10 years in, and so the clients they were now excited. They thought it was great. I'd established some credibility as an insurance agent, and so they thought that was really fun. And then I had another really kind of long-running commercial for this really exciting product, Gold Bond, right? The lotion. My commercial was airing at the same time that Shaquille O'Neal's version of Gold Bond was running. I didn't get paid like Shaquille O'Neal did, though, which was kind of a drag. But it ran for many, many years, and I wouldn't know it was running again. They would just start running it again, and some checks would magically come. And then I would get emails from my clients, and it would start out, hey, Susana, I have this itch, and I was wondering if maybe you could recommend something. And then I would go, oh, Gold Bond must be running again. So.
That's great.
So you either find out by check or by
check
client.
or by client, right? Yeah, they would know even before I did. And then suddenly, you know, a magic check would arrive, and that was great.
Like, oh, money's going to be coming soon.
pretty much. But I have some good Chuck Norris stories. That was like I started on set with him, and so when all the Chuck Norris jokes came out about how much of a badass it was, that was really fun for me. Giancarlo Esposito, who was in Breaking Bad, he was lovely.
Oh, cool.
I did a movie with him where for about 8 hours, he's like torturing me for information, right? So we'd do a scene and he's like, you need to tell me where he is. And at the end, I'd be like, hey, and get up, and then we'd start the whole thing over again. Yeah.
Wow.
That is so cool. So when did the Susan Gibb show start?
So I started the podcast 2 years ago. So I'm about 70 episodes in. How many do you guys have?
We're around
Holy
800.
cow. You guys are like
Yeah.
badasses.
We've been doing it since 2019.
2019. But I mean, we have run some episodes multiple times.
That's okay.
I don't know if does that count
Or
into the count.
I think so.
Oh, it might.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's really
well,
cool.
The year my dad died, I kind of fell off the map for a little bit. So luckily, we had a good team that just kept repurposing a little bit.
So the podcast, I had been on somebody else's podcast, and after I've also produced works and I've produced movies, and so I was on his podcast for a little bit until I was like, I want to do my own thing. I want to be in charge. I want to be the people who are driving the creative choices for the show. And so we spent a lot of time trying to come up with a concept, right? Like I love y'all's concept, and we're going to get to y'all in a little bit because I have questions for you. But I didn't want to do a podcast about insurance. I was like, after 7, I was like, man, I don't want to talk about policies. I talk about policies all day long. How
Yes.
else can I use this? And so ours, and this year we tweaked our SEO, which, as you know, on the PSO for the podcast to kind of try and get some more attention. And ours this year is about mindset, confidence, and, how we show up. But it's a great outreach for me. People will take my call who don't normally take my call, right? So I have
Yeah.
like the head of the sports commissioner for Dallas, basically. She's in charge of bringing in FIFA and all of these major events. And she's going to be on my podcast next week. But if I had
Nice.
called to talk to her about
Super cool.
insurance, she probably wouldn't have picked up. So it's our creative marketing outreach, AKA it's a great creative outlet for me because after being an actress and producer for years and years and years, to switch gears to being, an agency owner is my primary focus, but I still have this creative itch that I need to scratch. And so that's what it's doing. And it's one of the first times that it's actually supporting the insurance agency versus me going away for a month to shoot a movie somewhere. And then, my client. So yeah, but it's been,
Are you still shooting?
no. I say no. I did an episode of Lioness last year with the Taylor Sheridan one. So I took off for a day and shot that. But it's not really been the same since COVID anyway. Once COVID hit, they do all online auditions versus in person. And so the whole game changed after COVID, and I can have plenty of time to focus on my insurance agency.
Interesting. So I mean, not to go down the rabbit hole of acting, but COVID had that same effect where remote is now kind of the new
100%.
thing.
We used to go in person to audition. You would see the same people at your agency, and now, they would see maybe, 100 to 200 people for this one role. But now everybody submits online, and so they can see 400. So it's very different.
Yeah.
And it's not, for a while I was like, oh my God, it's me, right? But then I ask all the other people who used to book a lot, and they are kind of in the same boat.
It's just more competition now.
From everywhere.
They can get through- yeah.
And so the flip side is now I do my own commercials instead of, schlepping for Gold Bond. I'll do stuff for
Yeah.
my insurance agency.
Yeah.
And you have total
100%,
control.
which is really great.
It's funny that you said that, and I think that a lot of insurance agents do have that creative itch where it's like something like a podcast can really scratch that itch. I mean, when Craig and I started, we were both kind of the same stuff, two ADHD dudes that were like, we love doing all different business type stuff. So it's like, you know, we started messing around with doing podcasts, and then we started doing it together. But it does definitely scratch that itch, and it's cool that we can do this, you know?
Yeah. I'm impressed you guys have 800 episodes. That's amazing.
It's still good. You're still
I know,
like,
that's so great. But it's a testament to, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy doing kind of what you do. I think, what is the statistic for how many people drop off of podcasts after they do, like,
It's
they don't even
ridiculous.
reach 50 before they say,
yeah, it's probably 10.
before
right?
they're like, this
I
is
would-
too
I'd
much
say-
work. And I think every year I have
Yeah.
to, I've sat down and been like, is this the best use of my time? Because it is a lot of time. I'm like, should I be doing something else? Should I be out prospecting differently? And then I'm like, no, this is the time to keep going. Right at the moment when you think this is where I'm going to quit, and it's like, no, push through. The next breakthrough
that's the
is
breakthrough.
just right around the corner. Yeah.
There it is. Sorry to
No,
step on you.
but that's
It's the ADHD.
He bet
I don't have my meds. There's a shortage.
true story, by the way, that we had a long conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Adderall taking people right now, it's like it's crazy. It just all of a sudden they don't have it, and they say, we'll have it in a
Oh.
week. Oh, okay.
interesting.
Yeah,
I think I smell a price hike coming.
yeah, seriously, or the black market.
Starve the people from the drugs, and then bump up the price, and
Well,
everybody's
you
okay.
can't tell somebody they should be taking this will improve your life, great, and then it does, and everything's great, and then take it
Yeah,
away.
that doesn't seem fair.
You know?
That's not nice.
It's not awesome. I don't feel awesome
I'm
right
sorry.
Let me ask you a question. Who has been your favorite guests that you've had on your podcast?
now. Yeah.
Oh man. So I have had this past year, I had two really amazing women that I loved. One, she was an Olympic triple jumper, and I loved what she said. And I feel like a lot of the things that some of the really high performing athletes are so applicable to what we are doing as
100%.
business owners. And I'm always trying to find inspiration from anywhere, right? But she said that once she went to the Beijing Olympics, and when she was there, she realized that every single person that's there is just as muscular, is just as athletic, is just as talented, is just as well trained, and the biggest difference is mindset. It's how she's talking to herself and prepping herself, and the very necessity of positive self-talk can make the difference between winning over somebody else. I loved her a lot.
I love it.
The other girl that I really loved, and her name was Erica McLean. And I it's kind of like every podcast guest. You always like the last guest the best, right? But
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was interesting. She was the the women's national clay pigeon shooting champion. But she competes against men all the time, and she kind of grew up competing against men, and it's a sport where women and men are actually very equal. But she's like, yeah, I piss a lot of dudes off because I'm striving to do good. But she's also like, I also am upsetting for women too because I'm totally smoking everybody. So, but she's doing her thing, and all whatever the haters think, they can think, but she's just out there doing it.
Yeah.
And she put in all the time, right? She put in the 10,000 hours.
100%.
That's what differentiates you, because then that'll give you that attitude.
Yeah. It's funny. We tell insurance agents a lot, like, start a podcast or start doing social media, because to me, to like what you just spoke about is like, because you did the podcast, you get to meet these great people, you get inspired, and there's a lot of intangibles that happen because of it. But it is a lot of work. But I think that's the kind of stuff that inspires at least me more in the insurance agency rather than just doing agency work.
Yeah, it's nice to have that shift, right? Well, and they have all these studies now about how important creativity, doing something creative can help your overall mental health. So some people sit around and watercolor and stuff, right? Like it's relaxing. It helps with anxiety.
It is fun to watercolor.
Yeah, isn't it crazy when you're a kid? Because I have 4 kids. They're all between 6 and 13. And when you're a kid, all you want to do is be creative. And then at some point we get it beat out of us, and then we don't really do that much creative stuff. And then it's like we have to force ourselves to do it. But when we do it, man, it's like it takes you back to that of like wonderment and,
Yeah.
you know.
Before they told you have to be in a little line and you have to do it this way and, build you
Yeah.
to be a cog.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
But also entrepreneurship is that outlet too, right? Like there's a creativity to this, like to orchestrating the whole thing.
That was one of the other things I really loved diving in with people, and a lot more focus this year within like my podcast, which is about how people run business. Like I'm kind of obsessed with talking to people about business. I'm like, just because like this quest to make it better and do more and be better, and how's somebody doing this. And somebody just taught me the other day, Dorothy leadership. Have you guys heard of this? I loved this one. So Dorothy leadership says that from the Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy is a leader. She doesn't know really what she's doing or how she's going to get there, but she recruits 3 other people who also don't really know what they're doing or how exactly they're going to get there, and they all do it together. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love that. And so it just resonates for,
cool.
Aside from the fact that I also just saw a meme about the Wizard of Oz, and it was like, what other kind of movie is like the hero of the movie arrives someplace, kills somebody, and then recruits 3 people to go kill somebody else. And I was like, there's the flip side of the Wizard of Oz as well.
Wow. Yeah,
But
I
she
never
also
thought about that.
she had a purpose, right? She had the I can't remember, what is it, to get to Emerald City to meet the Wizard of Oz or whatever, right? So she has a purpose, but she didn't really
She doesn't really know how to get there, but
the
she
how.
accidentally kills the witch when she gets there, and then they kill the other witch at the end. And so,
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
like she had the what, not the how, because the how isn't as important, right?
Yeah. It goes back to that like Benjamin Hardy kind of philosophy where it's, like the future always drives you forward for anybody, like a bigger, brighter future. And a lot of times we let the past pull us back to like what we have done. But when you can build that bigger, brighter future, it makes everybody more excited about taking that adventure with
yes,
you.
agree.
You know?
I think one of my biggest challenges was from moving from, because I've obviously been in insurance. I've been in insurance a long time. I started in 97. And so I'm an old newbie, honestly. Like I bought my book 4 years ago. So I'm a new agency owner, but I'm an old insurance person. But the biggest challenge, not the biggest, but there's been a lot. But one of the biggest challenges was trying to enjoy the journey versus thinking about this destination of like, I'm going to be an agency that's really doing amazing sales and here's my goals, and trying to enjoy the journey of getting to my goals was like, all right, I'm on the yellow brick road. I'm going to sing some songs on the yellow brick road while I'm trying to get to Oz and enjoy the time that it takes to get there.
Yeah. I love that because it's also not trying to control the how, but just enjoy the how as the how unfolds, right?
Yes.
Because I think we try to control the journey so much that creates a lot of challenges for us, right?
And
when we're talking about head game, you got to be clear.
I read some quote recently, like entrepreneurship really isn't for everybody. Like I think a lot of people try it, and in theory, anybody can do it, but not everybody should do it because sometimes I just feel like I feel like I'm walking on the edge of a razor blade. If I walk really lightly, I won't hurt myself, but I have to stay in a straight line and enjoy the danger of being on this straight edge razor of agency ownership with all the crazy things.
Yeah. So much that cannot be controlled.
100%.
And we can get wrapped around the axle on it.
Dude, I lived 35 years of not being an owner and working for other people, and I would always be miserable. It didn't matter if I loved the job that I had at the beginning. I would get to this point where I would get frustrated. I get frustrated with the way things are done, and I would eventually become miserable. And then I remember I bounced around, and I was really thinking, like, why do I get like this? Like, why can't I just be like, happy doing the same thing? And then once I did take over my agency, I did the same thing that you did. I bought an agency, and the first year was absolutely grueling, 14-hour days, and panic attacks that I can't believe I bought this. I bought a job where I'm doing 37 more things, working twice as much and making less. Like, this is insane. But then figuring out how to get out of that, and then getting out of that and all the, ups and downs of it, I was like, I don't feel like I'm miserable anymore. The longer I go, I'm having more fun. And I'm realizing, like, the ins and outs and, like, the, those gut-wrenching moments, or, like, you didn't make the thing that you were supposed to, you were trying to achieve, and all that stuff made me really like it more. It filled that void that I had working for other people. I'm like, I guess I'm designed, like, for me, like, that uncertainty. It's like you have total uncertainty, but limitless possibilities. So, like, living in that world for me is way better than some sort of box where it's like, you have this much possibility, but it's consistent, and like,
no uncertainty, but
no
possibility.
Right.
Or very limited.
I think that's like kind of like the blessing and the curse of being ambitious, right? Like, you're always driving, you're always striving, you're always creating new goals and new things to hit all the time. So it's kind of us doing it to ourselves all the time, right? Like, I think the other big challenge is,
makes you feel alive.
Well, it's fun. It's thrilling, right?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. So when you bought that agency, you said 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. Was that your first agency that you bought, or that you had, or did you
Technically, I only bought my book of business. So I bought my book from my dad, and he still has his agency. And at some point, he wants to sell to me, but he's not ready. He's doing his thing, and I wanted to pump a bunch of money in. I wanted to do updates. I wanted a new agency management system and a new CRM, and I wanted kind of some control in driving the train. And he was like, I don't want to pump a bunch of money in when I'm about to retire. And so we split. And so I did. I bought my book, and we did. We put in a new AMS, a new CRM. We put in new processes. We put in a new accounting system. We hired people. We lost people. We hired more people. We lost them. We hired new people while we figured it out. And all of the pieces slowly came together. I would have loved to have known you guys back then. So as I was reading about you, I was like, oh, dang, that would have been helpful about 4 years ago when I was trying to figure all this stuff out on my own, And it was only when we won our kind of first award from, like, the paper that we had to talk about what we had done. And I was like, oh, my God, we did a lot of stuff. While I was just sitting there grinding and working the 14-hour days and trying not to have panic attacks and all the things. So,
when did that go away? Because I totally feel you on that. Like, the first year was
the first year was really hard. I thought the second year would be better, and then I met with a CPA, and I was like, okay, seriously, it's been 2 years. What? And she was like, because I was like, I thought really at 2 it would be there would be a bigger thing. And she said, really, at 3, you should be able to just breathe a little bit. And so, I don't know, sometimes I wonder if it was like Dumbo and the feather, because I was like, all right, at 3 years, I'm going to be better. At 3 years, I'm going to be better. And it did smooth out. It did smooth out a little bit. I felt like the money became more consistent. I had an idea of how the money was going to flow more, right? Because I don't know if everybody's like this, but like, January, February are really hard months. And I'm like doing yoga in the morning, doing my sun salutations, going, please, God, let me make payroll. Please let me make payroll. And then another commission check will come. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm good. Right. But I think at year 3, I think there were those forces, but I also had the mindset shift that I needed to start enjoying the journey, and trust that it was going to come, and trust that all the work was going to pay off. And then I had to shift because I still have an old health insurance book, because that's how I started. And the health insurance at the end of the year makes the end of the year just like banana town. And every year I would try something different to make it better. I would bring in staff. I would change the kids' schedule. I would change all these things to try and make the end of the year just more manageable. And I finally realized the only thing that needed to change was my attitude towards it, and that it was just going to be okay. And then it finally was, right? Like, it's all up in my head. It's all in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like the longer you go, the more trusting you are of yourself, and then also the process, and the fact that, like, it's a pretty cool industry that it stacks.
It stacks, yes.
You know? So once you start seeing that and the consistency of that, there's like a trust factor, and then you get to a point where you're like, cool, I'm pretty cool. Like, I'm okay with this. I don't have to freak out every month.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
And you could see it happening with other people. Like, I mean, it's the whole reason. One of the reasons behind us starting the podcast was before COVID, it was difficult to get audience with the big agents, the ones crushing it. Like, they didn't want to talk to anybody. They're doing their thing. They're living on an island or whatever they're doing, right? They're enjoying life. And we're sitting here grinding for 14 hours and going, what the hell? It never changes. It doesn't stack. We're not getting the stack. And we started to piece together the various pieces to really drive revenue to the agency the way that we do now. And it was still difficult. I remember, like, he was a little bit ahead of me in believing in it and putting the numbers together and really making it work. And then I see it happening with him. I'm like, okay, I know he's for real. So I just need to trust, I need to trust the process. And then I start putting the things in, and 6 months was hard. A year was hard, but then the stack, right? And then it was like, oh, wow, this is my commission check is 15 grand more than it was the last time. And then, then another stack, and then another stack. And then it's like, holy shit, it works, right? And I think getting to that point, and then, like, that was a big level up. Because I remember I opened that agency and took ownership of the building on the same day. And I'm like, I don't even know how I could hardly deal with one building. And, and then, but it's like, you get there, it's like, okay, this is the new reality, right? And it isn't much harder. It is all up here. And, like, the pressure you put on yourself, or, the lack of belief that you have in yourself at that moment, and you just got to step through it. You said it. We both kind of said it at the same time earlier, but it's like that frustration is what precedes the breakthrough. And then you get the breakthrough. It's like, oh, wow, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
And then you just set the next high bar. And then you're like, this bar is terrible, right? Because you've already met this other bar. Right. You're like, oh,
I can't believe I was freaked out about this.
It's so true.
Yeah.
What were some of the things along the way that helped you get to the next level?
Things that helped me get to the next level. It's hard for me to come up with, like, a couple of things. It really is just, I make little notes for myself all over that say things like, keep going and you can do this, because it's like, I don't know that it was a big thing. I think it were all these, like, incremental little changes throughout it's like tweaking this one little process here, tweaking this other process over here, really working on our messaging. All right, I make that up. Honestly, the social media component was really big when we took ownership of our social media and started to really put some thought. We didn't put a bunch of thought into it at first, because you don't know what your audience is going to do.
Right.
We just kept throwing stuff at the wall. And after about a couple of months, my husband was like, "Is this working out for you?" And I was like, "I don't know yet." They told me I just had to keep going and keep doing it. And then literally the next week, I was at my kid's soccer game, and one of the other parents was like, "Hey, I saw your post and I need to talk to you. And then it started just
You're like,
started
whoa.
feeding everything. So aside from all the little incremental changes, that was a big one, the social media. I also, one of the other, I would say, big shifts for me was, and I meant to grab the book, but I forgot. It's the, what's his name? Jocko somebody or another. It's the Navy SEALs who
Oh,
wrote
yeah.
the book on accountability.
Yeah. Jocko
Extreme
Yes.
ownership.
Will Cox.
Yeah.
That was huge for me because
Willem.
I was really
Super
uncomfortable with holding people accountable. I didn't know how to do it without feeling like I was micromanaging.
Yeah.
But the minute I started going, oh, we have a standard, we have a process, how is it going? And asking people like that part in the book when he's like, man, the Navy SEALs started like dropping the ball on putting on their gear because I wasn't asking questions. And suddenly I felt like that gave me permission to ask my team, hey, how'd your calls go? Did you hit your number? Did you hit your goals? What's happening with this person? Did you talk to them? Without feeling like I'm up in their business. I'm just, that's me being able to help them keep on top of what they need to be doing. So,
Yeah, that is such a cool book. And it's not in that book, but right around the time that I read that, I remember hearing somebody talk about like, if a meteor came and hit the earth and it hit my wife and she died, I would blame myself for not researching what's going on in the cosmos and everything to figure that out. Like that concept of like extreme ownership. And I started like listening to him and a couple other things and thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, really, like if you can just look at the world like you control everything, and everything that you control leads to something that maybe you don't control, but like you put yourself in situations. If you're next to some, crackhead with a knife, he might stab you. So don't stand next to the crackhead with a knife,
Don't frequent places that have crackheads
Right.
with knives.
Right. But like that idea of like extreme ownership is so important. Makes you look at everything differently. Like you control a lot more than you think.
you know, the other book I really liked, which I think everybody, I hadn't read it prior to, anyway, the How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dude,
Oh,
that's so basic, but it is so genius.
So basic.
Yeah.
That changed too.
Dale.
That was a big help. What are
Yeah.
you guys reading right now?
David perceived he was king.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you like it?
Really good on the life and time. It's about identity and how King David, he was anointed when he was just a shepherd, and he was anointed that he was going to be king. And then if you look at like, he's the most written about person in the Bible, or talked about other than Jesus. He's the second most, mentioned over 1,000 times, and it talks about how in multiple books about how he we all know the David and Goliath story, and then he became one of the biggest kings in the world, and then eventually, handed off his kingdom to King Solomon, who became the richest man in the world. So like just going from shepherd, a boy of 5 siblings, the youngest one, which back then he wouldn't even have gotten anything from his family. His family was poor. And then having that identity shift that he was anointed to be king and all the steps that it took to get to the next thing. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting about like,
I need to read that.
like how his identity, like even when he was a shepherd, God started putting things like bears and lions in his way. And he, in faith, fought them, and then it prepared him for the next step, And then it was like Goliath, and nobody was going to fight Goliath, but the Philistines were going to take over and everything. And he was the one little dude that said, you know what? I think I might be able to do this. And it was because of the prior.
Interesting. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That whole like what lesson is this obstacle trying to teach me is a interesting way to look at things too.
Yeah.
I just started
100%.
reading Scaling People. Have you guys read that one?
Ooh, no. I might have bought that a while ago, but I don't think I.
I'm excited. I've only gotten probably a couple chapters in, but even what I've read so far, I really like. The only disappointing thing about the book is how big it is, right? Like somebody was like, oh, you should read this book. And I was like, great. And I get it. And I was like, oh, crap, this one's a really big book. You know, sometimes you get the books, you're like, oh, I'm going to read this book in like a weekend. And this is like a no. This is like a 4 to 6 week book.
Do you ever do the audiobook?
I do, yes, and I really love. This one has some worksheets inside as well. So you almost need like a combo pack, right? You need the audiobook to listen and then the book to actually like write in and do some of the exercises. But yeah, the audiobooks are great.
That's super cool.
I'm actually rereading How to Be an Adult, which is a phenomenal book.
Really?
Is that the ADHD one?
No, it's this guy, David Richo, but it's Richo. It's not that big, but it's, It has it all. It has it all. Like just, there's a lot. I just turned 50 recently, or about, a year and a half ago. And a lot happens when you turn 50. So, I'm going through all that right now. And this book is phenomenal because it's like when you turn 18, they should hand you this book.
Well, I was going to ask you, I have a almost going off to college kid. And I was like, would this be a good book for them? Okay.
Yes. I mean, it would be a good book for any human.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. It just is. It's. I mean, I can't even. Just all the things. It has all the things.
And
It's a good title too.
Yeah. And he has another book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, which is a whole nother level. but talk about extreme ownership. I mean, it does come down to accepting responsibility for everything that happens to you, basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so easy to point the finger at everything else, and especially agents, right? And I know I've been on both sides of the equation where I've blamed everything and the current state of my agency on everybody else, when at the end of the day, I mean, it's my agency.
Yeah, it's me.
Right? It's because of me. If I can leave, like I'm in San Diego for 6. This is the last month of a 6 month stay in San Diego. I've worked not too much on the agency per se, right? But I check in and I work with my ops manager. But I couldn't have done that 10 years ago. I couldn't have done that 5 years ago because it wasn't in the place that it was. And until I accepted responsibility for everything, it's not so-and-so's fault. I hired so-and-so. So it's my fault, right? And I need to change the system in which people can become members of the team so that this doesn't happen. I didn't tell her to do this or tell him to do that, but the filters weren't good enough to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, you're like, so this keeps happening. This error keeps being made. And that's initially, it's like, oh, that's something's wrong in my process.
It's systemic, right? And I'm the system. So
100%.
Yeah. But it's really good stuff. I highly recommend it to anybody that's a human.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I never did the AA, but the AA prayer is the most
Serenity Prayer.
The Serenity Prayer is the most genius thing. To accept the things I cannot change, to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like just that alone.
The wisdom to know the difference.
Like if you just do that every day, you're good.
I think you had to go through drinking days in order to gain the wisdom, though, to know the difference.
Right?
Right?
I guess.
So, it's everything that's happened and everything you've done have prepared you for this moment.
Yeah.
Every single day, right? This moment that we're in, everything that we've ever done has led to this moment.
True.
So,
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, moving a little bit subjects, but how are you approaching AI in your agency?
oh, good one.
So I'm kind of fascinated with AI and how people are using it. I know that I haven't named my AI. We're not, I'm Susana Chat GPT. I think it's funny when I put something in and it comes back. That's a great idea, Susana. And I was like, thanks. We use it for, I think, probably very basic things. And I think there's probably a lot of ways that we could expand on it. Obviously, I use it a lot for the podcast stuff when I'm doing research and doing prepping for interviews and doing data dives on SEO and social media and that things. I don't know how people are using AI to interact with clients. I'm not ready to give up that much control, honestly, to do it. And I think it's fascinating that some people are, and I'm eventually probably going to have to get on that train to keep up. But that makes me really nervous. Do you guys use it for that?
Not for talking to or interacting directly.
No.
I mean, I tried it, and it was for lack of a better word, it was a shit show.
Please tell the story. Please tell the story.
Oh, do tell the story. Yay, story time.
It's so good.
I spent a lot of time putting this thing together, plugged it in, and
but putting what together?
A voice agent that would call on old quotes or whatever. You know, I looked at what we were allowed to do, and at that moment, what I was doing was allowed. However, it was only allowed where, you know, like a regular call. Like, you don't call a million times in a row to the same person. Well, in setting up and being so excited about setting up the thing, I missed a couple of the buttons that you need to push that prevent it from calling a million times to the same person. And it just, it didn't blow up a lot of people, but it did blow up a couple people.
So he listened to one call specifically.
Yeah.
And the person brought up suing, right?
Yeah. The person was angry, kept asking it questions. It was not supposed to say give away any information. It spelled my name out. It said, you could consider calling the FCC. like crazy stuff. And I'm like, we got it all handled and all fixed. And it was an accident, and I'm no longer doing, but man,
it started like literally becoming the like agent of the person,
right,
helping them.
As your attorney, this is what I would recommend.
Yeah, like recommending. Well, you could go to the insurance commissioner, and you can do this, and you can do that.
Yeah, good stuff. So I haven't dabbled back in that. This is early AI when it was seemed like the panacea.
Years ago, yeah.
Now it's a little more chill.
I'm somewhat concerned. I've seen an Instagram reel. It was like how to make sure that your AI prompts aren't public, and I'm just wondering how many people play around in like Chat GPT and whatever, who are uploading. Like, I haven't uploaded any client information into Chat GPT or anything because I'm kind of nervous about it. Although I have a report that I'd like to, just to see how it dives into the data, right? Like, I think the really fun thing is when you get somebody who's using AI in a different way, and a lot of it is in the questions that they ask.
100%.
Give me a social media post that is stop scroll worthy, that's clean, that goes to these people, and like, it's this really smart question, and I'm like, God, that's really good. And I'd love to be like, I'd love to say, here's my, and maybe I scrub the names, but here's my specific agency information. Tell me what maybe I'm missing about my clientele that I could market to them in a different way. Or again, I need the prompt.
Yeah.
But I also need time to play around with it, which I have not really.
Yeah, those guardrails are critical, right? You have to be, it's like dealing with the smartest person in the world that has the worst common sense, right? So like that just, it is so literal. So there could be no sarcasm. There could, it's like, it's straight, and any possible outlier, you got to like guardrail it so it can't go there. Because it usually won't, right? It's all probabilities. It's a normal distribution. But sometimes it's over here when it needs to be right in the middle, and it'll just go down and run with it, right? That's the new reality for it, is this crazy world.
I went to Podcast Movement this year. Have you guys ever done one of those conferences? So, and it was here in Dallas, which was kind of good and bad, because then I was like, oh, good, I'll just go over. But I wish I would have been out of town to like really immerse myself in the conference. But a lot of it, you would think at a podcast conference, there would be things about how to be a better interviewer, how to like, it was kind of like, it was none of that for the most part. It was all about how to use AI, how to use SEO, how to use PSO to really leverage your podcast to find your guests, right? And a big movement almost against using AI to craft the wording in your podcast. They're like, because there's like backlash against it. But they're like, people are going to know if you write your book with AI, right? Like that's like everybody experimented with that, and that's already done and gone, right? Like they're like, no, you can tell when a podcast is totally scripted with AI or a movie is scripted with AI. So I think there's going to be an interesting creative shift as people kind of move away from that aspect of it and really use it to do like big data dives, right? Because you can throw in a bunch of information and quickly go, tell me what my targets are here, versus spending a lot of time. Like you upload the spreadsheet and whatever question you have, it's going to have for you right away because it can process so fast.
That's, I mean, we've made between our clients, telemarketers, and our own, we've done
127 million. I actually ran it.
You ran 127 million dials on leads. And so we have data, like we have carrier level data on calling leads, but that we own. So, we've plugged these numbers into ChatGPT, no people's phone numbers or anything, just the actual results, like the results of the calls.
Just a bunch of numbers.
And it's wild what it could come up with, because it could look at the various, like this month and then how many dials it takes, to get to people. And, most people call a couple, 3 times on a lead. I mean, our sweet spot's 31 dials before a lead closes.
Well, now, okay,
makes that many dials.
I have questions. So 31 times, does that include like, all right, 10 are getting them to get on the phone, and then the other 10
from first dial,
and then the other 10 are like, oh, hey, I forgot this piece of information. Do you want to get together? Whatever. And then
it could be any combination of
31
all of that.
calls.
Just looking straight at numbers, it's 31 is the mean.
So we use lead callers on the front end, and then agents, and then once the agents quote, we're only doing a one call close on maybe 5%.
Yeah.
And then the rest is follow-ups for at least a month. So it's the bell curve. The top of the bell curve is 31.
Yeah.
So you're still getting, you're still getting it beyond that. But like what was really interesting that we found out recently, because of ChatGPT, is like finding out like the retention rates. Like we found out like the retention rates of the people with the higher dials. We had a hunch that this was happening, but like we
said it forever that we believed that was the case. Like the more dials that it took, the higher the retention.
I mean, it just makes sense, right? If it takes 70 dials to close someone, it's going to take the next person,
and they're going to give up.
Dials.
Yeah, 100%. Agree.
Yeah. But then when we ran the data, it actually showed it. Like, and it did the whole bell curve and everything, all the numbers, and it was like whoa, magic,
magic,
so cool.
Something that would have taken
so
some
long.
Data scientist forever to do, right? And it's just 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's good stuff. You know what? The other thing about AI with messaging, and a lot of people poo-poo using AI for copy and stuff, right? Which, I mean, I get it, but it really comes down to the prompter, right? Because it's just a tool at the end of the day. And if you let the tool do all the work, then you didn't really do anything. But like if you're re-prompting it and you're just using it for bits and pieces and to really just expedite the process, it can be super, super helpful. And I don't think that you would know that AI helped you with that if you get to the end result that would you'd normally get to anyways. Yeah, I think a lot of people are just like throwing something in and then just spitting it out. Yeah. And it's like using.
Well, I know the kids, the teachers now have a place to test if their paper was AI written. But even the kids are saying, the ones they're like, no, I totally wrote my paper. And sometimes the teachers are coming back and saying, this is an AI. This was AI. And they're like, I 100% didn't. So it's just, I mean, it's a new thing, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
That is wild. Imagine you spend all the time, and then the teacher says, no, that's AI.
So I teach my kids how to use AI on their work that the teacher told them not to use. Because I don't want them to not be able to use a tool that makes them exponentially better.
Well, I think people are, but again, it's almost like Remember when they taught us how not to plagiarize? You're like, okay, so like you said, you're
yes.
like, here's my prompt, here's what I'm looking for. It spits something back, and you're like, ooh, I like that phrase. I'm going to use that in my sentence over here, right? So it's not 100% exactly what was written. You just kind of get inspired.
Yeah, 100%. Or you put in a ton of transcripts of the way you talk, and then you say, write it as myself. You got 300,000 words of the way I write something. Rewrite it exactly how I would write it, and this is the context of it and everything else. And like, it gets pretty close.
It's close. I don't think anything is copy paste.
No,
you know?
it can't be copy paste. That's the part of the human
Right.
that's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I have
is
received emails that are copy paste, and I've been accused of using AI when I did not use AI. You know,
I've accused them.
ChatGPT copied me with that line. You know, the double line, how it has the dash.
Oh,
the
right,
long
right,
dash?
right. Yes.
I've been doing that for a long time, well before.
Which is insane. Who does that, right?
I always liked that you do two dashes and it turned it into one long dash. I always thought that was cool, so I use it all the time.
So he uses it all the time. So like he sent me something with multiple of those, and I'm like, dude, this is not real.
Like, I wrote that. I put thought into
They
that.
stole it from you.
Yeah, ChatGPT
Yeah,
stole it.
they did.
I am ChatGPT.
You should put that on a t-shirt. I am ChatGPT.
That would be
Yeah.
a good shirt. Well, tell us, what are you excited about in the future? What advice would you give to a young agent coming in with all, with the position that you and I were in, where might be a little overwhelmed? With
I was
everything going on?
also overwhelmed.
And this
I was
guy.
overwhelmed.
I want to be part of the club.
I had a non-insurance coach, right? Because I knew that there were things that I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, honestly. And I knew that that was out there. And I got a coach because I was trying to look at some of that stuff. But the coach I got was not an insurance-related coach. So I would 100% find an insurance coach to help with that whole process. That's a big one. There's just too many things. There's too many things. God, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so different from just being a salesperson once you're the one in charge of putting every single piece together and setting your own expectations and dealing with the carriers and the carrier reps and just having somebody to go, is this normal? Is this what it's going to be? That would be my 100% takeaway. And then, just to grind, because the work will reward you,
Yeah.
And then, your other question, what am I excited about?
Yes. What are you most
What
excited
am
about?
I most excited about? I am really excited to see what this new iteration of our podcast is going to do now that we've really kind of dialed in our SEO, and to see how that's going to shake out getting new people and audience people to find us, and how it ultimately helps our agency in a back end kind of way. I'm also opening an agency, a shop in Houston in the Woodlands, which is another big corridor, and I'm excited about that. And if that iteration works well, it's more organic growth than buying an agency, because it's really hard to buy an agency and get people's attention. As anybody who's trying to buy an agency knows, they're kind of hard to find, and the big guys swoop them up before the little guys can get there. So,
Yeah.
The venture capital comes in.
right? So in Texas, there's like a triangle of big business, right? It's Dallas, Houston, Austin. So I'm making my first foray south to Houston. So,
Nice.
yeah, all good things.
Steering clear of weird old Austin.
Austin will be next, but
Austin's an interesting place.
yeah, have you been there? Yes.
Yes.
Did you live there or just visit?
Yeah. No, I went there for a couple concerts. I went there for some Billy Strings concerts.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Austin. Well, the Austin San Antonio market is huge and big. I just, my brother he's involved with the economic development of the Woodlands, which is a big development north of Houston.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, he's there, his family's there. I want to take advantage of that connection as well as hang out with him, right? Insurance is about people at the end of the day. And so I'm like, oh, got to go to Houston and hang out with my brother and his new baby and his wife and shake some
you go.
hands and kiss some babies and try and sell some insurance while I'm there. Yay. All good things.
There you go.
So awesome.
Awesome.
Super cool. And how can people get a hold of the podcast?
So at susanagibb.com. That's where the podcast lives. We are on all the socials at thesusanagibbshow.com. And we're on Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and all of those things. But yeah, I would love it if people would go and say, hey, this is good. Or, hey, Susana, you know what you should do different? You know what I think would really work for you? I would love some of that feedback if somebody would come. We're on all the Apples, the Spotifys, the everything else. We record on Riverside like you guys do when we're not in studio.
Cool.
And I love it when Riverside works, which is great.
Yes. We just use the web-based one. The app is I can't figure it out.
Yeah. So, and then I'm starting another podcast, which is not related to insurance. It is more of a passion project. It's called The Glass Child. And it is for geared towards the sibling of a sibling with a disability. They're called glass children, and they are typically not studied because there's so much studies done on the disabled child in the family. And there's not a lot of data and study for, there's another child in this scenario who has specific needs that maybe are not being met. And that's not discussed at all because there's so much focus on the disabled child, and the disabled child really needs a lot of that focus. But so that one is going to be the second podcast, and we're about to drop our first 3 episodes. So you remember what that was like once upon a time, the first 3 episodes, you're like, okay, here we go. So
that's cool. So were you the other child?
Yeah. So
She's the glass child.
Yes, I'm the glass child. I had 3 siblings with a disability. And then my other host, she is the parent of a child with a disability and a child without a disability. And she's the one who was like, you aren't studied. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine, right? And she's like, no, you guys aren't studied at all. You have all of these things of, it's kind of like the older children syndrome. You're like, no, I can do everything.
100%.
I don't need anything. I'm fine. This person needs a lot more than I do. Let's focus on them. And her ultimate goal, it's her baby. I'm just kind of supporting her and being that, it's nice to have a co-host, right? Because you guys can bounce ideas off of each other. And so it's nice to have that with her and really collaborate with her because, she would really like it to be, God, I can't remember what the acronym is. It's like whatever, if a kid has this thing, it's a something event. God, I need her right now. But it's, if there was a death in the family or a kid was dealt with divorce or there was abuse or there was this thing, right, then there's studies on how to help them. But it doesn't include that for these kids. And that's what she really wants, is to bring a spotlight on these kids because she as a parent was like, how do I support this kid? I have all the research and help for my other child, but I don't know how to help my well child who's really struggling as she watched her sibling have really big health scares through a lot of her life. Am I supporting her? How do I support her? So it's her baby. Yeah.
So interesting.
That's very interesting.
So my oldest child, she's 13. The next one is 10, and he has ADHD. So he's always had the attention. So when you said that, I was like, I could see it happening in real time. And then my third child, he, because my second child, because my 10-year-old required so much attention, he ended up acting out to get the spotlight more to him. And then my youngest, so he's 7, and then my youngest, the 6-year-old, she actually has ADHD. So just navigating all this, and then my oldest daughter now,
It is mayhem over
she
there.
stays in her room. She's real quiet. She reads. She doesn't get the attention.
She's trying not
Like,
to be a problem because she sees how hard you're working with
Yes.
number 2.
100%.
And so are her needs being met, right? Because she's like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with all these things. So, she's putting her needs second. And there's lots of people out there
Yeah.
who we talk to some of the people that we've had on are dealing with, amazing caregiving for their sibling. Now they're having to care for their sibling because their parents are gone, and these really, really challenging situations with their sibling. One guy, what was it, Duchenne syndrome or something, where the life expectancy is like at year 20 and they're mostly immobile. I'm totally making this up, but anyway, somebody's going to correct me, I'm sure. But and he's the caregiver for his brother, but his brother ends up living another 10 years, but he really has to put his whole life on hold to care for his brother. Now, how does that affect him in the long term, right? In a huge way, right? But he's technically a glass child, because all the focus is on the other. So
Still all the focus, and he's got to do all
Right.
the work.
So I'm excited
Wow.
about it. It was definitely
Yeah.
a moment when
That's cool.
when I was talking to my parents. They were like, "Why do you want to do this again?" Because it, like, is it picking at a scab? And I was like, "Well, I think it would really. It's not talked about, if it can help people ultimately, right? Like that's what everybody, how can I help? How can I
Yeah.
give? How can I give back to this?
Yeah.
I feel very, very fortunate with like a typical glass child. I'm like, dude, I'm fine. I'm not a glass child, right? I'm like, I'm fine, But there were things that I had to work on in therapy. It's not a therapy session. But anyway, I had to work on it and I'm good. But they were like, why would you want
Right.
to bring all that back up? I'm like, no, I think it'll do good.
It's always good to talk about stuff.
I mean, you got to process it, right? Like, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is I think, especially like our parents' generation, if we're all somewhat the same generation, like the
You're a
boomers.
lot older.
The boomers were taught, don't talk
Don't
about
talk
your
about it.
feelings, suppress your
Yes.
feelings. You don't talk about it, and look what
Yeah.
fucking happened. So part of my language now we got to put it explicit, but.
Just beep it.
It's interesting. One of my dear friends that I've known since I was in grade school has had a series of tragedies happen. Won't get into it, but his dad just passed away. And when they were at the hospital, like, it was real quick. Everything's fine. And then, they found cancer. A month later, he's passed, right? Like, it was just like, whoa. And in the hospital, I remember he told me that his daughter was in there talking to Pop. And he said she was crying. And he said, don't cry. I don't want, it's just like right there, just more evidence. Like, don't cry. I don't want you crying. Don't feel.
Yes.
So it's interesting, and look, you can't bottle
No.
it up. Otherwise, crazy stuff happens. So, working through and processing, and another testament to that book I brought up. How to Be an
That's a good
Adult
idea.
talks a lot
Yeah,
about
there's
that
one
stuff.
time when the lady that I was the therapist I was seeing, she was like, listen, you just got to feel it to be able to move through the feelings. And I was like, okay, how long will that take? And she was like, you don't want to feel anything. I'm like, no, seriously. I'm just like, okay, if I allow myself to feel it, when will I stop feeling it? Right? She was like,
It'll take as long
you're
as it
missing the
takes."
point here.
Yeah.
But you got to learn it somehow, right? And to your point,
Yeah.
like, they weren't taught that. It wasn't
Right.
part of therapy and mindset and psychology, and it's just, I just wonder what our kids are gonna talk about.
I mean, they had one book to raise, like, how to raise kids, like Dr. Spock.
God,
That's
that
it.
was
This is
it,
what you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Make them cry it out. Here, it's like, so
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
It is interesting. I think our kids and stuff will be even higher on the Maslow's hierarchy of need. They're just going to
Keep getting better.
keep thinking about this stuff more and more. Like, if we've thought about it this much, imagine how much they're going to
And how much more information can they take? Like, we have so much information
Yeah.
at our fingertips now.
So much.
What?
Yeah.
If there's not flying cars soon, though, I'm just going to be mad. Like, for heaven's sakes,
I
like,
really want
what
I have the
is
closest
the
friend.
delay on the flying cars?
It's so true.
But I mean, we would just be smashing into each other.
How are we going to insure that, right?
Probably.
Yeah, how do we insure the flying car?
I don't know.
It'll be interesting for
Well,
sure.
thank you, Susanna. This has been awesome.
Yes.
And we've gone the distance. You did it. You went we even crossed the hour mark.
We did. Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun, guys.
We're like
Thanks for
Rogan
having
over
me.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we're excited to see where the podcast goes and everything else, and wish you the best success in your agency and growth, and not going back to those first couple of
No,
years.
thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate it.